Hi and welcome to WorkPro. This video tutorial is going to show you how to use WorkPro's work rights checking service. So before we get started, a couple of things you need to know. Firstly, that WorkPro offers a citizenship and work rights check. That means that when you're requesting a candidate to complete their information, they're also providing evidence of their citizenship. This then allows you, if they're an Australian citizen, to validate their work rights in Australia. And if they're a non-Australian citizen, it gives you the opportunity to very quickly, instantly in fact, using our integration with the Department of Home Affairs Vivo database, check and then continue to monitor the work rights of every candidate in your workforce. For you, that means that you can take advantage of a system where you can either check a single candidate or you can check an entire workforce in a matter of moments using this really simple integration. And once those checks have been completed through Vivo, we also offer a 90-day cycle whereby WorkPro is continuously polling the Department of Home Affairs Vivo database and then sending you an overnight report should any work rights change of those workers that you are checking, and alert you to those individuals so that you can make an adjustment for their work as an example. It will also produce a new certificate. So that takes a lot of the administration burden away from your organisation, and that's what I'm going to take you through today. So you're in your administrator dashboard, and the first thing you're going to do is to send a candidate or a bunch of candidates a request for their citizenship and work rights check. To do that, click New Request, and you're going to send a request to a new candidate or you're going to send a bulk request. Selecting Continue, entering the candidate's name, email, mobile number, jumping across to background checks, choosing citizenship and work rights, and you're going to send that request. So of course, a citizenship and work rights check can be collated with a whole range of other background checks or other workforce compliance elements that are available within WorkPro. So once you've sent your request, the system will track that request, and if that task remains outstanding, the candidate will receive 3 email alerts or text alerts 3 days apart, reminding them that the task remains outstanding. So now I'm going to show you the candidate side of the experience. So the candidate receives their email and or text message invitation, and they follow that link. And that link will bring them to this page or a white labeled version of WorkPro if your company has that in place. They're required to either sign up for a new account or they're going to log in if they have an existing WorkPro profile. And logging into the platform, and they're going to enter the single-use token, and that's contained in the invitation that they receive. Selecting background checks and opening the citizenship and work rights check. So they start their check and they follow the instructions if they're an Australian citizen or a non-Australian citizen. So depending on which they choose will depend on the workflow that is presented to them. In this case, I'm an Australian citizen. I'm entering my information. I'm invited to upload evidence of my citizenship from these drop-down lists. You can also configure WorkPro so that if the person uploads a document that does not contain a government-issued photo ID, you can also invite them to upload that photo identification. Alternatively, even if they do upload a government-issued photo ID, such as a passport, you can still invite them to either upload an additional photo government ID and or take a selfie holding that government-issued photo ID. If they're not an Australian citizen, they're invited to upload their country of citizenship, the information contained here, a copy of their document, agreeing to the terms and conditions, and they will submit their check. So once that check is submitted, you'll receive an email invitation letting you know that that check has been completed, and you will log back into your instance of WorkPro, and you will either you'll open that check and acknowledge their citizenship as an Australian citizen, or you'll send that check through to the Department of Home Affairs Vivo database. And you can do that really simply by using the filter, either entering the candidate's name here or selecting background checks, citizenship and work rights, and you can look for all of your Australian citizens as an example that are ready to acknowledge, and applying that. You'll see here, for example, this person is an Australian citizen and it's ready for you to acknowledge their citizenship. You can view that document, review the extra identity document, agree to the terms and conditions, and you can submit that check. I'll show you what happens in a moment. For those non-Australian citizens, you're selecting non-Australian citizens that are ready to submit to Vivo and applying that. I only have 2 here, but what this means for you, rather than having to do check by check individually, you can simply filter for these checks that are ready to submit to Vivo, choosing actions, choosing bulk Vivo check, selecting the ones that you want to send through to Vivo, agreeing to the terms and conditions, and also enabling automatic reminders and submitting those checks. So very quickly, you can submit hundreds of checks and get those results back for those non-Australian citizens. Now, I did mention that once you've submitted those checks to Vivo, we'll also start automatically polling the Vivo database on your behalf. And we do these in 3-month cycles. So as that cycle is coming due for a renewal, you'll see this little button pop up here. So you can take your hands off the wheel. There's nothing further for you to do. WorkPro will just continue to poll those candidates' work rights against the Vivo database. They will produce a new certificate should a person's work rights change, and you'll also receive a report via email which details any of your candidates whose work rights have changed during that 90-day period. So in drawing up to that 90-day period, in fact, a few days out from the conclusion of that 90-day cycle, this little button pops up, and you can see in this case that there are 6 candidates that need to be considered to be placed onto the next 90-day cycle. So you'll need to open this window up. You'll need to look at those candidates. If there are candidates that are no longer working for you, so you don't need to recheck against the Vivo database, you can archive that candidate. And for others that you do want to process a new check, you can simply tick these boxes. You also have the option to just very quickly tick all of them, agreeing to the terms and conditions, acknowledging that these checks are going to be placed into the next 90-day cycle, and you can submit those checks to Vivo. Each Vivo check contains a certificate, and I'll quickly show you that. So let me just look at who have been finalised. And you can see in this case, this candidate has limited work rights and they have an expiry date of the 21st of January 2022. And you can see here there's some that are coming due for expiry, so they're now orange, and there are some that are green. In this case, for example, it's current. For your Australian citizens, I'll quickly show you the certificate for those. So let's have a look at your Australian citizens. And you can see here that the proof is being accepted. So it's gone from ready to acknowledge. So I'll show you this one. And you can see here, I mentioned it before, reviewing those documents. Once you've submitted that document or acknowledged those documents, there is an official certificate that has your name, the date that you completed it, and then a certificate that shows the details of that check and also the identity document. So I close that check. That concludes today's video tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Of course, if you need additional support, you can call our 1300 number, which is 1300 975 776. You can gain email support at info@workpro.com.au, and you also have some additional user guides that you can look to up here. Video tutorials and user guides will be really helpful opportunities for you. Thank you so much for joining me.